We are in the building. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Home Buyers Clubhouse. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jessie Lynn. I'm a triangle realtor with A to Z Realty. Miss Erica, introduce yourself.
Yes, I am Erica Batts with New American Funding, and I am your mortgage loan officer.
Samantha. Say hello.
Hello. I'm Samantha Harding, and I'm a loan officer at Mortgage Solutions.
Audience, hello to our Facebook users. Hello. For those of you guys who are just tuning in, be sure to click on the link at the top so we'll know who you are. Facebook user, drop your name in the box below. Everybody, welcome to the Home Buyers Clubhouse. We go live every Wednesday and every Friday at 12:30. On Wednesdays, we're dropping something inspirational and motivational. And on Fridays, we are dropping something educational. Everybody, how y'all doing today? Drop it in the box below. Let us know how you guys are doing today. All right, you guys. So today, George Mayo, what's up, cousin? How you doing? Anyway, today, y'all, we're talking about relocating and changing jobs while you are on the market shopping for a house. So, did I say that right? Relocating jobs. Relocating and changing jobs while you're on the market shopping for a house. That's right. Okay, so today we're talking about that. I have clients. I get this question a lot. I have a lot of people that are moving, they're relocating to North Carolina, and they want to know how things work. Okay. So today I'm going to ask you some questions, some common questions. Lenders, my two lenders, raise your hand, say hey, say hi.
Hi.
Hey. All right now. So today we're going to ask some common questions that we have that buyers may have and things that may occur during this transaction. Okay. So y'all ready?
Yes.
All right. So for starters, when people are relocating, when they're relocating and they are changing jobs, let's say they're changing jobs, okay? And they're thinking about buying a house in their next state. What do you guys recommend before they change jobs, before they do whatever, before they move, before they start anything? What do you recommend as a lender?
I would say talk to your lender first before you change jobs and do all of those things, because we need to know where you're relocating, like what your situation is going to be. So
Definitely.
if you are you changing industries, or are you just changing jobs? Are you, like, if you were a nurse in Tennessee, are you going to be a nurse in North Carolina? If you were a nurse in Tennessee, but you decide you're going to be a chef in North Carolina, well, then that makes things different.
Okay. So let's say if they wasn't relocated, does those same rules apply if they wasn't relocated?
Those same rules actually do apply. Really, the only difference as far as if you're relocating is we need to know where your money is coming from. So if you are working remote, if you can work remote, then great. We know that your money is going to remain the same, then that there's no issues there. But if your job says, well, you could only work remote during COVID, but they may call you back into the office. Well, if you lived in Maryland before and now you've moved to North Carolina, how are you going back to work?
Definitely. I've had some clients ask me, about getting a mortgage and contacting their lender. And, if they were here, a lot of the times I'll say, okay, contact your local bank, your bank that you currently work with or something like that or whatever. If their credit is a little iffy, okay? Because, they have a connection with them, they're local, etc. But in this situation, if they are relocating, I know what I told them. But in this situation, would you recommend that they contact their bank?
I would say most of the time, a lot of people contact their bank because it's convenient, but your bank may not always give you the best terms. So, people like myself and Samantha, other people, check around to different places. Check with your bank, yes, but then you also want to check with an actual, like a mortgage lender. You want to check with maybe a credit union, things like that, because you want to know who's going to give you the best rates.
Okay, and
not just rates, but the best situation for you.
And let me get you to rewind just a little bit. See, the situation that this particular client, they're relocating to a different
Mm-hmm.
state.
Yes.
And a lot of the times, I told them they may not be licensed in North Carolina. So cool. You have this relationship with them on this local level, but you need to also verify. You need to be honest and 100% upfront with them and let them know what you're thinking about doing before you go in there and ask them to be pre-approved for a mortgage, because everyone is not licensed in all states, correct?
That is
Correct.
correct.
Definitely. So that's the biggest thing, y'all. So normally and traditionally, cool. If you like you say, shop around for a mortgage or whatever. Traditionally, if your credit is a little iffy, if you're feeling a little about it, I say contact your local bank or whatever. But I always give them a few lenders also. So somebody want to know is that was the next one. Okay. So when buying a house, do you have to make a certain amount monthly? That's a good question. Lenders, y'all want to answer that before we move on?
Well,
Samantha?
I was getting ready to say it depends on what your home ownership goals are. If you want to live in a house that's $100,000, you would have to qualify for that. So it's not a certain amount of money that you need. It's how much money you need for the house that you would like to have. So $100,000 house, the mortgage is about $700 and something dollars, give or take, with the high interest rates, taxes. I'm just gonna give this estimate out there. Don't quote me on that. But then you would have to at least, for USDA per se, that'll have to be 29 front end max, 40, 31 back end, right? I'm thinking on my toes, you guys. But that means your percentages have to make sense and be within a certain amount for your debt to income ratio to make sense or be able to be a viable loan. I hope that answered the question. Erica, you can back me up on that one.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So it doesn't matter as far as how much money you make. It just has to be an affordable option for you. If you make $1 million, but then you can make $1 million a month, but if your monthly bills are 990,000, well, then it's not affordable for you. So it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's the percentage of money that you have left, once you pay your credit report bills.
Facebook user, did that answer your question? Drop your name in the box below. So yes, definitely. I just had this conversation as well. It's not about how much money you make, you guys. It's about your debt and your income that's coming in. And
Mm-hmm.
I just had this conversation with one of my past clients. Yes, we can do that. I just had this conversation with one of my past clients as well. She sent me last night. She texted me, and I'm just so happy and so proud of her or whatever. The house she bought, because I talk about this a lot, and I tell people it depends on the area. Because a lot of people, if they find that they're only pre-approved for $200,000, we know that's tough in certain markets or whatever. But she worked with what she had. She worked
Mm-hmm.
with it. She only got approved for a small amount, but guess what? She sent me her property last night. She's been working on it. You can get like loans after you close on this property. Your bank, they'll give you a loan or whatever to fix your property up. And she was sending me pictures last night. She's changed her bathroom. She's changed her vanity. She's changed her cabinets. She's done all of that or whatever. And she did this with only like a $500 deposit. 500, that's unheard of in this market. But she only did $500 due diligence deposit or whatever. In the process, we negotiated some repairs and all of that, and they ended up paying for her closing costs as well. So yeah, hold on, I got another question. So it is whatever you are approved for or whatever, just work with what you have. Unless your taste is a little bit more expensive, but I always say start with what you can start with, because guess what? I can guarantee that rent is going to end up being a little bit more expensive than that mortgage that you're currently paying.
Yeah, and I get that
So,
a lot with people who are concerned about the interest rates right now. And they're
mhm.
saying, oh my gosh, the interest rates are so high. But they don't realize that if you're renting, you're paying 100% interest.
Definitely. So, George, that's a great question. We actually just talked about this last week, and we are also doing a home buyer seminar next week as well. But Erica, do you want to go ahead and answer that question? He want to know what's the lowest credit score you've seen be approved. Samantha just went out, but she does low credit as well.
Right.
But yeah.
So the guidelines are 580 for most of your government loans, and that's going to be your USDA, your VA, and your FHA. And every your lenders, and that's another reason why I say check with multiple lenders, because your lenders have different guidelines. So just like your bank, their minimum credit score may be 620, but for mine is 580. Samantha's is 500 for an FHA loan. And
So
but you do have to put down 10%. You got to put down more money, when you're looking at a lower credit score. But it is possible to get approved.
yes, Samantha, talk about your low credit score of the 500, then so we can move on to these other relocating and changing job questions.
If typically it's hard to get an automated approval with a 500 credit score, so I'm going to say you will have to have paid all your credit card bills, installment loans, all on time for at least the past 12 months for the most part to go through and get a manual underwrite. So those are usually the criteria to get a manual underwrite, is that you have show that you have changed your history in the last 12 months, and then they'll do a manual underwrite and approve you that way. But you would normally not, just the computer is not automatically approving somebody with a 500. So they'll have to make sure you meet the criteria, debt to income ratio, so that you.
Definitely. I just had this conversation as well. Who's on Facebook? Get off Facebook. Whoever's on Facebook. It's about all right. That's coming on. Also, someone said that they need to speak to one of us. Facebook user, click on the link at the top so we can see your name. Who's that need to speak to one of us? So we'll know.
That is Bell Rain.
Bell, okay. Hello, Bell Ring. Hello, Connie. How are you doing, sweetheart? Yeah, Samantha and Erica, their numbers, you're gonna see it. They'll give you their information at the end, so make sure you stay tuned. All right, y'all. I have another question right here. So, there she go. So it says a mortgage with no job, but a large deposit. Can you get a mortgage with no job and a large deposit? Back in the day.
Well, I was going to say before 2008, the answer was yes. But since 2008, no. Well, I'm going to say maybe. I'm actually going to say maybe.
Explain why. And then y'all can kind of.
I'm going to change my answer to maybe, because just because you have a job does not mean that you don't have steady income. So if you do have, let's say that you're on disability, so you don't have a job, but you have steady income coming in. So that's one of the things that we have to prove, that a mortgage is affordable for you. So you can get it if you have something like that, but you can't say, well, I want to buy a house for $400,000. I have $100,000 to put down. Okay, well, that's great. But if I'm loaning you $300,000, I have to know that you can pay this money back.
So with Social Security or disability, any other income streams, possibly they could get pre-approved with?
No. Child possibility too, as well. I was going to say, back to what Erica said, there is a possibility for you're switching jobs or applying for a new job in like conventional, you can get a job offer letter stating that you will be starting soon. So you don't have to have a job today, but if you're going to start within a short term amount of time and you have the job offer letter, they can approve you that way with different types of loans. Not every loan allow you to do that. So that was my addition to what Erica said.
All right. So now let's change this around just a little bit. All right. So what about for all of my self-employed people? It's like, this is like twofold, maybe threefold. Okay. They're self-employed. That's their only job. All right. And for the people that's currently employed, but they have a side hustle and they have that extra income. Can they buy a house, or how would that work for someone that's in that situation?
Erica?
Oh, I was gonna say I can take it, but okay. So as far as for the self-employed person, you're actually thinking it's actually a couple of different ways, things that you can do. So they do have things called bank statement loans, where if you don't show, let's say that you make a lot of money, but you also have a lot of deductions, so that may be an option for you. But keep in mind, there is a larger down payment, at least a 10% down payment is required on that. And then you're also looking at your interest rates are generally going to be higher. As far as your self-employed borrower, If they filed taxes for 2 years, then we would need 2 years of tax returns to be able to calculate income for them. But it is a possibility for them to purchase a home.
So you
Um,
guys, oh,
Same thing with
sorry.
side hustle. The side hustles, a lot of times, but you do need 2 years of 1099 income because most of the time those are going to be 1099. So you need to
Mhm.
have reported for those on 2 years for your taxes in order to be able to use that. A lot of times we get people where they may have a side hustle, but we're able to use their regular W-2 job to qualify them. And then, their side hustle money, that's where they're getting their down payment funds from or something like that. So
There you go.
For
And she
part,
took it out my mouth. So
I
I
was
say what,
part.
Samantha?
I would say part-time jobs. Typically, you have to have a 2-year history of having those two, even if it's not something self-employed, side hustle, side job, second job, as well. In addition,
So all right. So you can, for the people that we always say, get a side hustle and do whatever you need to do to get that income that you need. So let's rewind this. So with the side hustle, and if you are self-employed, you need to be at that job for at least 2 years in order to use that as extra income. But the benefit of having a side hustle is to have that money for a down payment or your deposits or your inspections and all of that. Did I get that?
yes.
yes.
Yes. So, and for the part-time jobs, let's say you have a full-time job and a part-time job. What if that part-time job is the same in the same industry as your full-time job? Could you use that?
Sometimes it just depends. So, like if you're a travel nurse, something like that. So, a lot of these are situational. So, it's not an
Mm-hmm.
across the board answer. But, like if you're a nurse, but then you also do travel nursing,
Mm-hmm.
then you can use both incomes there. But if you're a nurse but your part-time hustle is the chef, then that doesn't work.
And you've already answered this question because a lot of people want to know this, but I got to ask you this question again. How long do you have to be at a job before you can get a mortgage?
It,
So again, that's one of the situationals. You don't necessarily have to be on a job for a
Mm-hmm.
specific amount of time. You have to have 2 years of employment history. So just like, and it depends. So if you're also like maybe a commission based job, well, you
Mm-hmm.
have to have that job for at least 6 months. But if it's a regular W-2 job, but I just had a job in the same field for 2 years, then 30 days. I need a 30 days of paycheck stubs.
There you go. I've heard someone tell me that before also. Yes, if it's the same field, you got some pay stubs, you got some proof of income, that's what they need to see.
Hmm.
Right? Right. All right. So okay. Another question is, can you get a mortgage with a job offer?
Yep, Samantha covered that one.
yeah. Yes, you can. Depending on type. Loan type. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Break it down.
It depends on your loan type. Typically, that's something that can be done through like conventional VA. USDA is not really friendly towards that type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I would say you can with a job offer letter, and we can verify that, and you start on the job at some point within a small range. Especially since COVID, they kind of changed the guidelines a little bit. So I would say a job offer letter should be sufficient enough if you have a
Def-
job. Wait, and that you have to have a job history too, and just like not have a job in like 15 months and just for the
Well,
most
sometimes
let's hear
there's
it. Let me hear your
I mean,
also
no,
a caveat there though. What
it's
if you're a
count,
student?
if you are a student, we can count educational history towards your work history. So
So
that's
you
all.
have recent college grads who are applying for mortgages and getting homes because they were in college for the last 2 years. So we can use that as their 2 year work history, and they've been on their job for 3-4 months.
wait. I just had somebody ask me that question not too long ago. So you telling me that if you are currently in school, I need y'all to break that down. If you're currently in school and you have a job offer letter, you can use your time in school as part of your job history.
Yeah, and so usually it's going to be college. It's up to, like, when you look at the guidelines, it doesn't distinguish between school, but every place that I've been, underwriters say it does have to be college. some sort of college or vocational school. Yes.
That's good because I have someone there, a nurse. I mean, they're going to school, for that or whatever, and they have a job offer letter. Okay, Mr. George Lamar Mayo would like to know, with the job offer letter, do it need to have your annual salary or just a general offer letter?
We will need to know how much money you anticipate making so we can base how much we can give you or lend you based on how much you are going to be making.
Hold on, because I need to know this for real. So do you need to start this job before you close on the property?
Yes.
Or there we go.
You do need to have, because we need to have at least one paycheck stub.
And that's the thing, because I tell a lot of people, and I was telling the person that I was speaking with yesterday, you're going to need to be honest. You're going to need to be honest. Okay, you have a job offer letter, but are you going to be working at this job by the time you close on this property? So that was my biggest thing, because guess what? The underwriters, and they're going to be verifying this stuff up until you close on this property. So you really need to be honest and don't just give them a job offer letter and you never start the job, because they're going to verify, right?
I would definitely say, when think about it from a personal standpoint, like if you loan somebody, $3,000, $3,000, $30,000, whatever that number is, you want to know that they can pay that money back. It's the same thing. This is a relationship between, the client, the lender, and the real estate person. We need transparency and honesty throughout this process, because we need to know if you went out and bought a car the day before you close. I'm going to find that out. And in some cases, people have not been able to close. So,
And this goes into my next question, because we stress this a lot here in the Home Buyers Clubhouse. For those of you guys who's watching this or viewing this on my personal page or Nicole's page or any of these other pages that we have a private group called the Home Buyers Clubhouse. You can get all of these videos in there. You can go on our page. You can get all of this stuff and just kind of go back and watch this stuff. But we stress this right here a lot. Erica and Samantha, do I tell my mortgage lender if I change jobs? You answered this question already, but we need you to say it again. Do
absolutely.
I tell my mortgage lender if I change jobs?
Absolutely. We need to know every money move that you make during this process. We need to know.
Okay, and this is another question.
People checking credit, like don't go out and buy furniture. Do not make any large purchases. Any of those things, we need to know that. Before we can close on this house. We're loaning you $300,000.
Okay, and this is another question though. How soon can I change jobs? Wait, first I have this question. How to get a home loan without a 2 years of employment? Is it possible? Okay, without 2 years of employment. You kind of mentioned this already, but break it down.
So you can, as a student, if you were a student, something like that, you can. And there are some cases that you may be able to do it without a 2-year history. It's going to depend on the loan type, and it's going to depend on the circumstances.
Okay. Samantha, you want to come in and give any feedback off of that before we move on to the final question?
No, that would up the answer to the question.
All right, y'all. As much as we talk about this a lot here in the Home Buyers Clubhouse, but I'm going to ask because this question came up. These are some top questions that I'm asking here. Okay. How soon can I change jobs after closing on a house? Before you answer that question, audience, do you guys have any questions? Do you guys have any questions for us? Do you have any more questions? Did we answer all of your questions? All right. So now back to that question. How soon can I change jobs after closing on a house?
Once you close on the house and you get the keys and it's been recorded, that's on you.
Y'all got that? It's that simple. You can do whatever you want to do after you get that house and you get those keys. Okay. You can do whatever you want to do. And this goes back to people who's kind of waiting on, they don't see the house they want. They don't see the house that everybody else is posting on Facebook. That house is not postable on Facebook. It's not Facebook postable or social media postable or whatever. You can turn your house into whatever you want to turn your house into. You may only be approved for this amount of loan, but you can turn that house into whatever you want it to turn it to be. And a lot of the times, these homes only need a little paint. That's it, some paint. You can paint that house and turn it into what you want. That's what a lot of these rentals are and these apartments are. They paint over a lot of the stuff. Like, I'm just
Well,
saying.
that's how you turn your house into a home, and you're making whatever changes that work for your family or your household. Whether that's if you want to paint the kids' room bubblegum pink, that's on you. That's your house. You can make that decision.
You can make it your own. And that was one thing, I used to do property management for income based apartments or whatever. And you had some people who would come in and be like, but you can make it your own. You can make it your own. You can't go in and do all these paintings and different things like that. But I've seen tenants turn these apartments around, But the difference is this is not an apartment. This is yours. So you can go in and change the colors, like she said, to pink if you want to. You want lime green on your walls, you can. So you can go in and change it, change the flooring. It's gonna take time, but I can guarantee by the time you spend all that money on your rent increases, over time, you're gonna have that house and you're gonna have that equity built up. And as you change these things, as you fix these things, you're gonna be putting money into your piggy bank. That house may have appraised for only $200,000 today before you fix it up. But once you fix that house up, that house can appraise for $250,000. And guess what? You have $50,000 in your equity piggy bank. And guess what you can do with that money? You can borrow that money back, or you can cash it out. And that's $50,000 you put in your pocket just by putting some paint on your walls. Can you do that in an apartment or rental?
But in addition to that, I would say that you can live there and it provides stability, but then you don't always have to live there. Like, I guess that's my part. Like what you said, you can make it home. And if after a while it's no longer feeling like home, or you can't make it into that home, as Erica said, like there was a forced sign when you got sales time when you got there, you
Yep.
don't have, not a lifetime commitment.
I've
So
said that. Yes. Make it
Well,
or an investment property. You can be the landlord.
and I'll say another thing is that housing, real estate builds wealth. So just
Mm-hmm.
like, if you buy a house today, or that's one of the big things within this past like 3 years. There's people I know that bought a house 3 years ago. They've gotten $200,000 in equity within this 3 years with this housing boom. They sold that house. They took that $200,000 and rolled it into another house. And then you can do that every 2 years without, and don't have to pay taxes on a lot of that money in some cases.
George, that's a great question. He said, okay, so if I change jobs after closing and making less than what I was before, is there a way to get my mortgage payment adjusted? I've actually seen this in a group before. Y'all want to answer that?
I suggest you get a roommate.
No.
Unfortunately, no. There's not a way to get your mortgage payment adjusted. So it's not based. It's based on what you were making when you got the house. And if you feel like that's going to be the case for you, if you feel like, listen, I don't want to keep this job that pays me, $100,000 a year, whatever it is, I'd be happier with a $60,000 a year job. If that's the case, then talk to your lender. Let's talk about that when you're applying for this, so that we can make sure that we tell you, okay, I know that we said that we can approve you for this amount, but based on how you want your lifestyle to be, this is the amount of house that you need to be looking for.
Hold on, George, though. It is possible. It is possible, George. If it happens the day after, that's a different story. But if you've been there about 6 months or a year later on, and the interest rates have changed, and the interest rates have changed, you could refinance your property. You could refinance it, get a lower interest rate, and yeah, it could lower your payments. But
Well,
it just
okay.
depends
So
on
the
the
thing with
market
that,
and what the interest rates are looking like.
So the thing with refinancing, so usually you're not going to be able to refinance within 6 months,
Right?
unless the rates have just, I'm sorry, not the rates, but the equity or the values in your neighborhood have increased quite a bit. But you also have to have some equity into the house before you can refinance. If you're doing a what we call a rate and term refinance, you just want to change either the interest rate or the
Mm-hmm.
terms, then 95% is going to be the maximum amount. 95% of the value of that house is the maximum amount that you can do. And if you are trying to get cash out, then usually 80% is going to be the maximum amount.
And we talk about this a lot because a lot of people, they don't realize that. And like I said, we're not talking like, if we're talking like over 6 months from now or further down the road, a lot of people will lose that. They would allow the courts or the banks to take their property, and they have all of this equity in this property, and they don't realize that there are loans and different things out there to help them not lose their property. They don't realize that they have equity in this property. And let's say even if you don't have a job and you can afford it later on, and you need to move somewhere else, sell your house and get that equity out of that house. But it just depends on your situation. So yes, it's possible, but it just depends on the timeline and what you have going on in that property. But I always say, because a lot of us, we don't know and we don't realize it, we just lose our house, and then the banks have all our money that we've invested in this property.
Well, and as I said, talk to a lender, have a conversation, talk to your real estate professional. Remember, this is what we do every day. So, let's have that conversation and see how we can help you. Like, especially in this market, there's, very little reason for people to be facing foreclosure at this point, because there's so many people out here buying houses left and right. We can put your house on the market and get it sold, and you can walk away with a little money in your pocket.
There you go. I hope that answered your question. Audience, do you guys have any more questions before we wrap it up? Lenders, do y'all have anything y'all want to add? Y'all want to give some inspiration, some motivation to our future homeowners?
Talk to a lender. I not because I became a lender, I say that, but I was looking for a house before I became a lender, and I didn't realize how much I didn't know. And although I had some great real estate agents, there was so much that they didn't necessarily know because they don't know my finances and
Right.
what kind of loans out there or what programs is out there all the time. And there's new ones pop up all the time. So I would always say, talk to your real estate agent, talk to your lender as well, or a couple different lenders to find out what fits your situation, because there's not a one size fit all for everybody.
And I would say I definitely agree with that. And there are different programs out there. There's different things that we can talk about to see what works for you. Because, like she said, there's no one size fits all for everybody. But if you think you're ready to buy a house, let's at least have the conversation. Because nobody teaches you how to deal with money. Like, a lot of times they don't teach you how to buy houses. They don't teach you how to do investments, any of those things. So we want to see, what's your long-term goals? So if you plan on only living in this particular city for 3 to 5 years, then maybe a townhouse is a better option for you, or, those kind of things. So there's definitely options, and it's just a conversation, and it didn't cost you anything to have a conversation with us.
Definitely. So what I always do is, and before we go, like you said, all I can do is I can just give you some information about the home buying process and what to expect and all of that. But at the end of the day, the lender is the one who can guide you. They're going to look at your credit report. You can call them and say, hey, look, my credit score is this. But at the end of the day, they can't really guide you until they pull your credit report to say, hey, look, you need to pay this off. This is what needs to happen so we can get you pre-approved.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I see people where they say, well, I got to work on my credit. Okay, well, when we actually look at it, you didn't need to pay off those particular things, or you didn't need to, it's like, well, I paid this card and I closed it. Well, that wasn't what you needed to do. Yep. So when I look at your report, I can tell you what you need to do and not what your friend did to help them or whatever. So it's just a conversation.
Exactly. All right, you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys asked us some great questions. We really appreciate it. That's what we're here for. If you guys, y'all need anything, y'all need to contact us. My name is Jessie Lynn. I'm a Triangle Realtor with A to Z Realty, and you can reach me at 919-818-9854. Miss Erica.
Yes, and my name is Erica Batts. I'm with New American Funding. You can reach me at 919-608-7916, or you can reach me at ericabatts.com.
And you guys, you can reach us in the clubhouse. You can reach us at www.thehomebuyersclubhouse.com. Thank you so much, George. I hope we helped you today. So we hope to hear from you soon. You can reach us in the clubhouse at www.thehomebuyersclubhouse.com. You guys, you can find us in our private group on Facebook. and on our Facebook page at Homebuyers Clubhouse. You can find us on YouTube at The Homebuyers Clubhouse. We'll see you guys on Wednesday at 12:30. We hope you guys have an awesome day. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.